welcome to Tales of Honor Podcast, a podcast dedicated to telling the true stories of the Congressional Medal of Honor. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Tales of Honor Podcast. This is a bi-weekly podcast that tells the true stories of the recipients of the Congressional Medal of Honor. It's that simple. I want to give a very special thank you to everyone who has listened and told a friend and supported our show sponsors. And I just wanted to say one thing to keep in mind. I really wish a lot of these stories could have way more information and be a lot longer. I really do. You do have to remember that most of these stories are going to be taking place in the 50s and 40s and back before, a lot of the information that we are spoiled with today just wasn't commonplace. So it's very hard to dig up a really big story on short notice twice a week. That, and I didn't want to water it down and make these podcasts much, much longer, so they weren't really listenable. I think 5 to 10 minutes is easy to squeeze into your day. And this is episode 14, going back to Vietnam. And again, another thank you goes out to DesignCake Studios. They're bringing this episode to you, and they're a small creative design business, but they have big talent. Small doesn't always mean small talent. They have big talent, and if you need anything from graphic design to web design, or even just simply having business cards made up, this is who you need to contact. Go over to DesignCakeStudios.com and let them know that you heard about them here on the podcast, and you'll get a free consultation off your next order, which is awesome. That can save you a couple bucks. And I know I have used them and continue to use them, and I really couldn't be happier about it. So go check them out. Awesome stuff they're happening over there. So awesome stuff they're doing over there. DesignCake Studios, fresh thinking, made bold. And now, a tale of honor. Joseph G LaPointe Jr. was born on the 2nd of July, 1948, in Dayton, Ohio. After graduating from Northridge High School in 1966, LaPointe moved to Clayton, Ohio, and worked as a mail carrier. 2 years later, he was drafted, but declared himself a conscientious objector. Typically, this meant that he could have been assigned to a non-combatant job in the military. During his training at the Army Medical Training Center in Fort Sam Houston, Texas, LaPointe got married and eventually became a combat medic. In November of 1968, he was sent to Vietnam, and by the 2nd of June, 1969, he was serving with the 2nd Squadron, 17th Cavalry Regiment of the 101st Airborne Division. It was on this day that he was on patrol on Hill 376 in Quang Tin Province, and what unfolded would not only bring his name a Silver Star and a Bronze Star, but also the Medal of Honor. His citation reads, "For conspicuous gallantry and intrepidity in action at the risk of his life above and beyond the call of duty, Specialist LaPointe, Headquarters and Headquarters Troop, 2nd Squadron, distinguished himself while serving as a medical aid man during a combat helicopter assault mission. Specialist LaPointe's patrol was advancing from the landing zone through an adjoining valley when it suddenly encountered heavy automatic weapons fire from a large enemy force entrenched in well-fortified bunker positions. In the initial hail of fire, 2 soldiers in the formation vanguard were seriously wounded. Hearing a call for aid from one of the wounded, Specialist LaPointe ran forward through heavy fire to assist his fallen comrades. To reach the wounded men, he was forced to crawl directly in view of an enemy bunker. As members of his unit attempted to provide covering fire, he administered first aid to one man, shielding the other with his body. He was hit by a burst of fire from the bunker while attending to the wounded soldier. In spite of his painful wounds, Specialist LaPointe continued his life-saving duties until he was again wounded and knocked to the ground. Making strenuous efforts, he moved back again into a shielding position to continue administering first aid. An exploding enemy grenade mortally wounded all 3 men. Specialist LaPointe's courageous actions at the cost of his life were an inspiration to his comrades. His gallantry and selflessness are in the highest tradition of the military service and reflect great credit on him, his unit, and the U.S. Army. Joseph G LaPointe Jr. was 20 years old, and he was posthumously awarded the Medal of Honor on the 16th of December, 1971. He left behind his wife, Cindy, and a son that never got to meet his father, Joseph G LaPointe III. On the 40th anniversary of LaPointe's death, his wife and son were presented with a Medal of Honor flag during a ceremony at an Army Reserve Center that bears his name in Riverside, Ohio. And that was a Tale of Honor. Thank you so much for listening to Tales of Honor podcast, and if you like this podcast, please be sure to leave a nice review, a nice rating, and tell a friend, tell your family, tell your coworkers. If you need more information, go visit us on Facebook and Instagram and at thebeardeddetailer.com/TOH podcast. If you have any questions or comments, you can always send them my way. I don't mind at all. talesofhonorpodcast@gmail.com. And until next time, I'm Christoph Ambrose. Thanks for listening.